Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Taylor Does Whatever, where we talk about anything from makeup to true crime to pretty much anything that I feel like talking about for the day. Today I wanted to test out the new Fenty cream products. I am so flippin' excited for that. So yeah, if you guys are interested in seeing how these work on my face, then this is perhaps the video for you. So I want to first start off this video by just letting you guys know a little bit about me and my history with cream products. Cream products are something that I have tried a few times in the past, but I feel like I did them incorrectly. Like I never really found a way to make cream products work for me. Now, I would say like the last year, cream products is something that I've always been very interested in retrying. I've always been a little too intimidated and a little too nervous to try cream products again, just because the previous experiences I've had have not been the best. So I just wanted to let you guys know straight off the bat, this is somewhat of a beginner's test. I'm not someone who's very experienced with cream blushes. If you are someone who is extremely experienced with cream blushes, I recommend watching Samantha Ravindal's videos around cream blushes. Robbie Christie, she did a really good review on the Fenty cream blushes. Can't speak. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know before we jump into it, I'm not a cream blush connoisseur. Alrighty, so that being said, I have the two products right here. This one is the bronzer, and I got this one in the shade Macchiato, which I was a little bit nervous about, but some of the reviews that I've been seeing, a lot of people prefer this color to the biscuit one, the Butter Biscuit. And then I picked up one cream blush because I wanted to like dabble my little toesies into it, you know? I didn't want to like buy a bunch of them and then hate it. The shade that I'm using for the blush is Summertime Wine. So right off the bat, let's just talk about prices on these guys. The bronzer is $32 and the cream, I'm looking at my phone, and the cream highlight, blush Taylor, not highlight, blush, is $20. So that's actually, it's not like too bad. There was a lot of drama, I guess, on the interwebs of people complaining about how small the cream blush is in comparison to the cream bronzer. Personally, I don't really care. I don't see myself really going through this. I've never completed a blush in general, but especially not a cream blush. So I don't know, that's not necessarily something that would bother me as much. However, I have heard a lot of people indicating that if you have a deeper complexion and you need to build upon this a little bit more, then you might be someone who would probably hit pan a little bit faster. So I don't know, that's just kind of some of the things that I've been observing, some of the things that I've been hearing. So take that as you will. I'm gonna take the bronzer. And like I said, I got this in the shade Macchiato. I think that this was like the third shade. So I'm a little nervous, to be honest, that I might have gotten one that was a little too dark, but that's okay because summertime is shortly upon us and maybe I will self-tan or something. Okay, so just, I'm sorry if it's a little dark. So I don't know how much to really put on. That's something that I feel like with cream products, especially like if you're a beginner, is knowing when is too much. And my biggest thing that's always kind of steered me away from cream products is the blendability aspect of it, especially when I was kind of newer to makeup. I had a harder time blending out my cream products. So I'm just kind of stippling, but also just kind of bringing down a little bit and blending that in. I feel like over the years, cream products have gotten significantly easier to blend out. I remember just using cream products back in the day, and it was always just such a pain to blend out. A little bit goes a pretty long way, especially because I got the darker shade. But considering it is a little bit darker than I probably would have wanted, it's not really hard to blend out. But what I like about this one is that it does feel very emollient, so it feels like it's blending in actually pretty easily. I feel like I put a wee bit too much on this side, so I'm just gonna kind of maybe blend that in a little bit with my brush here. This is actually really pretty, especially for the color. Again, I feel like this actually blended in really nicely, and I feel like it actually looks really good. So I think the hardest part about this for me was choosing which color I wanted. Fenty came out with a ton of different shades, but they're very unique shades. I had the Fuego, or I think it was in the shade Fuego, but it was the orange one, inside my cart for like the longest time. And last minute, I just decided to pull it and go with something that was, in my opinion, a little bit more wearable for me. Right off the bat, it actually seems like it's rather sheer. Like normally the cream blushes that I use, like my Natasha Denona one that I have, is extremely pigmented when I kind of dab the brush on. So again, it kind of depends on what it is that you're looking for, but for somebody like me, I personally would prefer a blush to be a little less pigmented than overly pigmented. This is a really pretty shade. I feel like that actually looks really nice. This is my kind of everyday blush color. I feel like you could wear this in the summer, and I feel like this would also be really pretty with berry tones in the fall. Okay, you guys, so I am gonna go finish the rest of my makeup. I'll come back and I will kind of give you guys some of my thoughts and compare the two products to the cream products that I'm most familiar with using, and just kind of give you guys my overall take on how it looks with the full face together. So I really did enjoy the bronzer. There's a few things that I really liked about it and a few things that I just need to probably get a little bit better with my technique at. So I'm going to be comparing it to this one that I've been using for a while. This one is the Nudies All Over Face color, and this one's in the shade Bondi Babe. So what I like about this one, the Bondi Babe one, kind of comparing the two, is that this one, you put it on your face where you want the bronzer to be, and that's pretty much where the bronzer will stay. The Fenty one I feel like blends out a lot easier than the Nude Stick one, and it's probably just because this is also in a stick form, so you kind of rub it on your face. It's a little bit harder of texture to have to rub out, but the nice thing with that is that it does stay in place a little bit more, versus this one, it's much creamier. So when you put it on, it's like you're spreading cream on your face. That sounded not the best, Taylor. So overall, I am definitely going to continue using this. I think that it's really, really pretty, and I'm excited to play around with it and see how I enjoy it. Now, the blush. So because I wasn't really expecting the Fenty bronzer to blend and kind of spread out across the face as much as it did, it was very emollient. I found that these two blended together where I didn't really want my blush and my bronzer to blend together. So when blush and bronzer blend together is when it can tend to look a little bit muddy. And so I think that this was just to my fault, where I was blending it on my cheek with the bronzer. So I blended the bronzer out of my cheek, but I took it a little higher than I had originally anticipated putting it because it was so emollient. And then it kind of was the same thing for the cream. When I was blending the cream out, it ended up going a little bit on top of the bronzer. So I'm not going to fault the products. I'm going to fault kind of my positioning. And now that I know the formula a little bit more, when I was going into it, I shouldn't have gone into it comparing it to pretty much like a stick, because sticks are obviously a little bit harder in texture. So they're going to stay put a little bit more where you apply it. Versus this one did not. So I definitely had the bronzer in a position where I didn't really want the bronzer. I feel like it looks really pretty on the forehead. It blended really seamlessly. So for me, I just did one dip into the blush and then kind of fused it out a little bit on my hand. And then I applied the blush. And for me, there was a lot of pigment there. So I do know that I am obviously very fair skinned. So if you have a deeper complexion, I did hear that you had to dip in a little bit more and it was a little bit more sheer. It is a lot more sheer than my Natasha Denona one. This one is like where you put it, you need to start blending it immediately, and it's very pigmented. So I'll show you. With this, look how deep the Natasha Denona one is on my finger, and then I'll swatch the Fenty one. So it's just a little bit more creamier. I mean, technically they're not obviously the exact same shade, but I'll show you what I mean. This one is the Natasha Denona one, and when I'm blending it out, it's super pink. And so a little bit goes a really long way with this one. Versus this one's the Fenty one. It's a little bit more creamier in texture. And when I'm rubbing it out, it's definitely a lot more sheer than the Natasha Denona one. When I rub this one out, it icks. But when I'm blending the Natasha Denona one out, you can see it's kind of sticks where you put it, and it's so much more pigmented than the Fenty one. And so personally, I like the idea of the Fenty one. One thing I have noticed a little bit, and again, maybe I'll have to play around with it a little with different products, but it almost kind of feels like the Fenty one pills a little bit. I don't know if that's just me, but yeah. So Natasha Denona and then the Fenty, it's a lot more sheer. Now for me, this probably would have been really helpful to have in the beginning, because when I first put this one on, I looked like a disastrous clown. So it is kind of nice, especially for a beginner, to have something that is a little bit more on the sheer side, especially a shade that's considered like wine. That's a pretty intense shade. It's a very pigmented shade. So I really would like to try out the orange one and maybe some other pink ones. I think that those would be really pretty. So that is it for today's video. If you guys like this, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps small creators, especially like myself, just to get my videos out there. And yeah, thank you guys so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you guys picked up any of these. Which shades did you get? How did you like them? I'd love to know your techniques. That's it. I'm going to stop rambling now. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!